This video is a continuation of section R.4 on factoring polynomials. Alright, the last video we looked at was about factoring the GCF from a polynomial, and that will be always the first thing you want to check for whenever you're factoring. So if it says factor, you always want to look for a GCF first, factor it out, and then proceed with whatever method is necessary. Alright, now when you're factoring trinomials, factoring simply means the reverse of multiplication. So in section R.3, we had multiplied 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 4, and got 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. What we're going to do now is we're going to take 6x squared minus 5x minus 4 and go back and find the two factors that gave us 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. So this is the multiplication. From here back is the factoring. And I'm going to show you a couple methods on how to factor depending upon what the polynomial is. Alright, so in this video we're looking at trinomials. Now, trinomials come in two forms. They can start with x squared, or they may start with ax squared. Now, the method that is used to factor the ax squared form, that means there's a number in front of x squared. You can use it to factor all trinomials. Alright, but if it is x squared, there is a simpler way to do it. Now, the method I show you for ax squared will work for all of them, x squared and ax squared. But there is an easier method for when it's of the form x squared. And you should try to learn it, okay? Because it will make your life much better. Alright, so we're going to look at x squared plus 4x minus 12. Alright, I know I'm looking for two factors. What was multiplied to give me this? Alright, if it starts with x squared, I know from multiplying that anytime I got x squared, I said x times x. And they were in the first part of each parenthesis. So I'm going to go ahead and write my x's in there. I know that's where they go. That's where the x squared came from. Now, to find what goes in the second part of each parenthesis, I take this number here. Alright, and I'm going to know what multiplies to give me negative 12. So I'm going to list all of those factors. So that'll be 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Now I need it to be negative, so that means one factor has to be negative and one factor has to be positive to get negative 12. Now the way that I'm going to determine which one it is I'm going to look to this very first operator here. Whatever that is, it's either going to be a plus sign or a minus sign. Whatever it is, that is always the sign of the largest factor. So when I come over here, I'm going to look at the two factors, 1 and 12. Which one is bigger? 12. This tells me it is positive. So I'm going to write me a plus sign right there. Alright, and since 12 is negative in my problem, here, alright, I know that this has to be negative. So when I say negative 1 times positive 12, I get a negative 12. Alright, now I'm going to look at the next set of factors, 2 and 6. Which one is bigger? The 6, so it's plus. 3 and 4. Which one is bigger? The 4, so it gets a plus. Alright, that means the smaller one has to be negative. Alright, now I have this list of factors, and remember I list mine by starting with 1 and working my way up. If you list them that way, the larger factor will always be in the right hand column, the smaller factor will always be in the left hand column, and so it's a lot easier to just go through and say plus plus plus, minus minus minus, so on and so forth. Now if you just randomly list your factors, you're going to have to go through each set and say which one is bigger and give it the appropriate sign. Alright, now we've listed all our factors. How do we know which set to use? All right, we're going to look to the middle term, positive 4. All right, so remember when we were doing multiplication that we said we multiply these two numbers to get negative 12, and we add them to get the middle term. So if I add these up, negative 1 and 12 make 11, negative 2 and 6 make 4, negative 3 and 4 make 1. All of them multiply to give me negative 12, but only this one set of numbers adds to give me 4, my middle term. So I'm going to come in here and say minus 2 plus 6. Now it doesn't matter if you write the plus 6 first and the minus 2 second. What matters is that negative is or minus is in front of 2 and plus is in front of 6. Doesn't matter if you put plus 6 minus 2 or minus 2 plus 6. It matters the plus and the minus are in front of the correct number. Alright, now with factoring you can check your answer and verify that you have factored correctly by multiplying it back out. So if I come over here and I say x minus 2 times x plus 6 and I factor that out, and I multiply it, I'll get x times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. When I combine my like terms together, 6x's minus 2x's is 4x's. Alright, notice my answer here is the same as the problem that I started with, so that I know I have the correct factors listed. Alright, let's try that again with these examples. Alright, we have x squared minus x minus 42. I look to that first term, it's just an x squared. I know from my experience and knowledge that to get x squared, I'm going to say x times x. Alright, it's the first term. I know the first term comes from the first two terms in my factors. I can go ahead and drop those in. Alright, now I need to know the factors of negative 42. So I'm going to start with 1 times 42, 2 times 21, 3 times 14. Alright, 4 won't go into that number, 5 won't divide into that number, 6 times 7. The next number would be 7 times 6. Alright, this is where they start to repeat. Alright, I know I've listed them all. Alright, now I'm looking for a negative 42. I know my signs have to be opposites. One's got to be plus and one's got to be minus to get a negative. So to determine which one is which, I look to the first operator, and that tells me the larger of the two factors is negative. So I'm going to go give all the larger factors a negative sign. Alright, and because I know I need a negative, when I multiply, my signs have to be opposites. Since the larger one is negative, that means the smaller one has to be positive. So then I'm going to add together to know which ones to choose, because I'm looking for the ones that add to give me negative 1. So that would be negative 41, negative 19, negative 11, and negative 1. And that would be plus 6 minus 7. So I come up here and say plus 6 minus 7. Remember, you could also write x minus 7 times x plus 6. Either answer is correct, as long as you get the sign in front of that number. Okay, looking at C. My first term is x squared. I know to get x squared, I have to have x in the first term of my factors. Now I'm looking for what multiplies to give me a positive 32. Alright, and we'll start with 1. 1 times 32, 2 times 16, 3 won't go into 32, 4 times 8, 5 won't, 6 won't, 7 won't, and then I'm back at 8 times 4. There's where they start to repeat. Alright, now I know because it's a 32, a positive 32, that my signs are the same. And so either the factors are both negative or they're both positive. I'm still going to look to this very first operator, and it's going to tell me the sign of my larger factor. It is negative. Alright, since my 32 has to be positive, my signs have to be the same. I know my larger one is negative. That means my smaller one also has to be negative. Now, to know which of these three sets I need to choose, I'm going to add them together. Alright, and I'm looking for the two that add to give me negative 12, and that would be negative 4 and negative 8. So I'm going to come drop those in. Always, when I get to the end, I can check my answer by multiplying back out. X times x is x squared. Negative 8x and negative 4x give me negative 12x, and negative 4 times negative 8 gives me positive 32. Alright, lastly, I'm going to look at x squared plus 11x plus 18. It's of the form x squared, so I know the first term in each parenthesis is an x. Alright, I'm looking for what multiplies to give me 18. Those same two numbers are going to add to give me 11. Alright, so I'm going to come over here. Let's say I can probably do it right here. 18. 1 times 18, 2 times 9, and 3 times 6 are my factors of 18. If you have trouble with the factors, maybe go review divisibility rules, and that may help you decide much faster than trying to, just punch everything into the calculator. You can rule out numbers real quickly. Like if it doesn't end in 5 or 0, 5 is not a factor. If it's not even, 2 is not a factor. Alright, so you might want to review divisibility rules. That may help you out. Alright, now our 18 is positive. The only way we're going to get a positive 18 is if our signs are the same. Alright, so I'm going to look to my first operator. This tells me the larger factor is positive. So I'm going to go there, get my larger one positive. Alright, and since the signs have to be the same to get positive here, to get positive 18, I know my smaller factor is also positive. Add those together. Alright, and the two factors that I need are positive 2 and positive 9.